Okay, so I want to start this deep dive with a quote that I have to be honest, it made me laugh out loud when I first read it.
Oh, yeah.
But then the more I sat with it, the more I realized it's actually the skeleton key for everything we're going to talk about today. It comes from the legendary strength coach, Dan John. He says simply, "The glutes are the symbol of youth. I'm sitting on a gold mine."
It creates quite the visual to kick things off, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, usually when we talk about being well-read or wise or, high performance, we are not talking about our backsides.
No.
But looking at the stack of sources we have today, which covers everything from track and field to Zen Buddhism, even business strategy, he's not just talking about aesthetics here, is he?
No, absolutely not. And this is the perfect entry point for the theme of this deep dive, which we're calling the gold mine of the fundamentals. What Coach John is doing there is taking something we often overlook or maybe just view superficially and revealing its structural necessity. Think about it biologically for a second. The glutes are, they're the largest muscle group in the body.
Right.
They are load-bearing. They're the engine. They support walking, running, lifting. If your glutes are weak, your back hurts, your knees blow out, and your entire movement quality just degrades. They are the foundation.
So when he says, "I'm sitting on a gold mine," he's being physically literal, but metaphorically he's saying, I possess the fundamental strength to move through life.
Exactly. And the mission of this deep dive is to take that physical metaphor and apply it to everything else. Your business strategy, your spirituality, your relationships, your mental resilience.
Right.
The sources we're looking at today, from Seth Godin to Ryan Holiday to the New Zealand All Blacks, all point to one uncomfortable truth. We are often sitting on a gold mine of simple, fundamental practices, but we ignore them because we're too busy looking for something flashy.
We're looking for the magic pill. We want the hack, the secret shortcut that bypasses the work.
We want the magic pill because it promises results without the grind. But the sources are clear. The gold is always in the boring stuff.
Yeah.
The gold mine isn't some complex algorithm. It's the unglamorous basics.
Well, if the gold is right underneath us, why is it so hard to mine? Let's dig into this. I want to start with this massive paradox in self-improvement that pops up all over these notes. We seem to have this innate belief that if a solution isn't complicated, it can't possibly work.
It's the complexity bias. We conflate complexity with value. If it's hard to understand, we assume it must be worth more. If it costs a lot of money or, requires a PhD to decipher, we think it holds the secret.
And one of the best counterarguments to that in these notes comes from the legendary University of Oregon track coach, Bill Bowerman.
Oh, this is great.
Now, for listeners who don't know, Bowerman essentially invented jogging in America and co-founded Nike. So he knows a thing or two about performance. But he had this way of describing training that is almost insulting in its simplicity.
It is hilarious. Bowerman talks about taking a primitive organism, and just to be clear, by that he means a college freshman.
As a former college freshman, I take no offense. It's accurate.
It's scientifically accurate. So Bowerman says, you take this primitive organism and you make it lift or jump or run. You apply stress. Then, and this is the crucial part that everyone misses, you let it rest.
You let it rest.
And what happens? He says, a little miracle. It gets a little better.
A little miracle. That's such a lovely way to put it. It sounds like magic, but it's just biology.
It is the biological law of adaptation. Stress, recover, improve. But then Bowerman drops the hammer. He says, you'd think any damn fool could do it, but you don't. You work too hard and rest too little and get hurt.
Oof. That hits hard. You work too hard and rest too little. Seems like we don't trust the little miracle. We think we have to force it through sheer volume.
Precisely. We don't trust the silence. We think if we aren't grinding ourselves into dust, if we aren't sweating and suffering, we aren't making progress. But Bowerman is saying the progress happens in the silence, in the rest, in the letting it happen phase.
Yeah.
It's a trap of complexity. We think more input equals more output, but often more input just equals injury.
It's interesting because this idea of silence or doing less isn't just for athletes. There's a story in the source material from Anthony DeMello that bridges this perfectly into the spiritual realm.
Yes.
It's about a governor visiting a master, and it perfectly illustrates this frustration we have with simplicity.
This is one of the standout anecdotes in the stack. So you have the governor. He's a busy man, affairs of state, very important, probably has a packed schedule.
Checks his messages every 30 seconds.
Right. He comes to the master and asks him to put the essence of religion into a paragraph or two. He wants the executive summary.
He wants the bullet points so he can skim it during his commute and feel wise.
Exactly. He wants the hack. And the master says, I shall put it into a single word. And the word is silence.
Which, knowing high performers, probably drove the governor absolutely crazy. I traveled all this way for silence.
It did. The governor isn't satisfied. He asks, okay, but what is the way to silence? Give me the method. Give me the steps. The master says, meditation. The governor, still looking for the intellectual hook, asks, and what is meditation?
Don't say it.
And the master replies, silence.
It's a circle. He just traps him in a loop.
It's a circle because the truth cannot be dressed up. The governor wants a lecture, a system, a theology he can debate. The master is giving him the glutes of spirituality.
The fundamentals.
He's giving him the fundamental state of being. You can't analyze silence. You have to enter it.
That connects right back to what we were saying about the gold mine. The master is saying, you are looking for a complex map, but the gold mine is right here in the silence you are avoiding.
And that is incredibly difficult for the modern mind to accept. We want the heroic solution. We want the complex strategy that makes us feel smart, rather than the simple practice that makes us quiet.
Speaking of heroic solutions, let's pivot to the business and strategy side of this.
Okay.
Because often when we talk about fundamentals, people think small. But Seth Godin has a really interesting take in these sources about the difference between heroic effort and systemic advantage.
This is the difference between burnout and leverage. Godin argues that our culture is just addicted to heroic effort. Heroic effort is thrilling. It's the all-nighter to save the project. It's the sprint at the end of the race.
Yeah.
It feels like a movie where the protagonist saves the world with seconds on the clock.
It feeds the ego. It feels like we're accomplishing something because we're exhausted. We mistake sweat for strategy.
Right. But Godin points out that systemic advantage defeats heroic effort. Why? Because heroic effort requires a miracle every single day. You have to wake up and be a superhero again and again. That is not sustainable. A systemic advantage, what he calls an elegant strategy, is something that builds leverage over time. It defeats the hero because the hero eventually gets tired.
So an elegant strategy is like compound interest, whereas heroic effort is just working for a paycheck.
That's a great analogy.
You do the work once, and the system keeps paying you.
That's it. But here's the catch, and the sources are really clear on this. Elegant strategies are boring.
Agonizingly boring.
They aren't sexy. Godin notes that elegant strategies are simple to explain and difficult to stick to.
Why is that?
Because of the 1,000 little compromises. You start with a simple plan, like Bowerman's run, rest, improve. But then you get bored. You see someone else doing a fancy new workout. You see a competitor launch a flashy feature. You skip a rest day. You compromise the system because you crave the dopamine hit of novelty.
And that leads to mediocrity. It's funny. We have two quotes here from two absolute heavyweights of history that basically say the same thing. Leo Tolstoy and Confucius.
It's a pretty solid lineup.
You can't get much heavier than that duo. Tolstoy says the two most powerful warriors are patience and time. And Confucius says, the man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones.
Connect that back to Godin. Carrying a small stone isn't heroic. No one applauds you for carrying one pebble. It's not a great social media post.
Right. Moved a pebble today. #grindset.
It's the anti-viral content. It gets 0 likes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Nobody cares. But if you do it every single day for 10 years, you have moved a mountain. That is systemic advantage. That is the gold mine. The glutes don't do one giant contraction and then retire.
No.
They work every single step you take. That is the nature of real power. It's cumulative.
So we've established that we need to trust the simple cycle, avoid the trap of heroism, and respect the small stones. But I want to talk about how this looks in a culture specifically regarding humility. Because there's this great concept from the rugby world in the sources, sweeping the sheds.
This is legendary in high-performance circles, specifically with the New Zealand All Blacks, arguably the most successful sports team in history.
Right.
The concept is everybody sweeps the sheds. The sheds are the locker rooms. And the rule is, after the game, no matter how famous you are, no matter if you are the man of the match, you grab a broom and you help clean up.
Even the superstars.
Yeah.
The guys with the multi-million-dollar endorsement.
Especially them. Because the logic is, status does not exempt you from the fundamentals. If you think you are too good to sweep the floor, you have lost the connection to the team and to the ground itself. You've become too big for the basics.
It prevents that hero complex we were just talking about. It keeps the ego in check.
It does. It reminds you that you are a part of a system. You serve the team doesn't serve you. Imagine the glute saying, hey, I'm the symbol of youth. I'm sitting on a gold mine. I don't do stairs anymore. I only do poses.
I'm purely decorative now. Call the Cavs if you want to walk.
Right. If they stop working, the whole body fails. If the leaders stop serving, the culture fails. It's about maintaining the structural integrity of the group.
This idea of service really bridges into the personal side of things.
Hmm.
We have some notes here from Ryan Holiday's Daily Dad series and also a quote from Tom Hanks about parenting that. It actually made me stop and tear up a little bit.
It is incredibly moving.
It moves this from business strategy to life strategy.
And it reinforces this idea that love isn't a feeling, it's a verb, it's an action.
Right.
Ryan Holiday writes that being a parent, or a partner for that matter, isn't about the abstract concept of adoration. It's about getting them things. It's the cup of water, it's tying shoes, it's driving them to practice at 6 a.m. when you would rather be sleeping.
It's the small stones of love. It's not the grand romantic gesture. It's the
daily maintenance. Beautifully put, yes. And the Tom Hanks quote captures this perfectly. He's talking about his relationship with his adult children, and he asks them, "What do you need me to do? I will do anything I can possibly do in order to keep you safe."
what do you need me to do? Not how can I feel or what do I think, but what needs doing.
That is the essence of service. It connects back to Ralph Waldo Emerson's definition of religion in our sources. He said, "Religion is to do right. It is to love, it is to serve, it is to think, it is to be humble." Whether it's sweeping the sheds in a rugby locker room or holding your child's hair back when they're sick, it's the same thing. It's showing up. It's doing the humble work without expecting applause.
But here is where it gets tricky for me, and I think for a lot of listeners. We talk about just doing the work and showing up and moving pebbles. But sometimes you just don't want to, or you're scared.
Yeah.
How do we handle the internal game when the fundamentals feel heavy?
This is where we have to talk about hesitation and covenant. There is a fantastic line in the text regarding intuition. Listen to hesitation. Hesitation tells you what you need to do. It tells you the precise direction you need to take.
Wait. Usually we're told to ignore hesitation, to push through it, feel the fear, and do it anyway.
That's the heroic mindset again, just brute force your way through. But if you view hesitation as data, it changes the conversation. Why are you hesitating? Usually it's not because you're lazy, it's because the thing in front of you is important or scary or necessary. The hesitation is highlighting the path of growth. It's pointing a big arrow saying, "This way for courage."
So hesitation isn't a stop sign, it's a compass. It's telling you where the gold mine is.
Exactly. But to follow that compass, you need a structure. You need a code. Erwan LaCour talks about having a covenant towards yourself. He asks, without that covenant, without a set of non-negotiable values, how can you make the right choices when the pressure is on?
That word covenant is strong. It feels ancient. It's not just a goal, it's a promise.
It's a promise to respect the gold mine you're sitting on. If you don't value your own potential, your own glutes, metaphorically, you won't do the maintenance. You won't sweep the sheds. You need a code that says, I am the kind of person who does the small stones even when no one is watching.
But what about when it goes wrong? Because Simon Sinek is in here reminding us of a harsh reality. No plan ever goes according to plan.
No.
You can have the best covenant in the world, and life will still punch you in the mouth.
That is the realism we need. Planning for chaos is part of the fundamental. If your strategy relies on everything going perfectly, it's a fragile strategy. It's not systemic. The advice here is really forgiving, actually. It says, to find success, set the bar low.
Set the bar low. That sounds like giving up. It sounds like mediocrity.
It sounds like it, but it's actually about resilience. It says today will not be perfect and nobody's going to get out of your way. If you accept that, you aren't derailed when things go wrong. You just reset.
You don't have a meltdown.
You don't have a meltdown because the universe wasn't polite to you.
There's that phrase in the text, force and ask for forgiveness. And once you know better, do better. Apologize, forgive and forget. Begin again.
Begin again. That is the most powerful fundamental of all. You fell off the wagon. Begin again. You missed a workout. Begin again. You lost your temper with your kids. Apologize and begin again. The gold mine is the capacity to restart the cycle. Stress, recover, improve.
It's interesting. We're talking about all of this discipline, sweeping sheds, moving stones, serving others, covenants. It sounds so heavy. It sounds like a lot of work.
It can be.
But then we have G.K. Chesterton coming in from the top rope with a quote that completely flips the tone.
Angels can fly because they can take themselves lightly.
I absolutely love that image. It changes everything.
It's the necessary counterbalance to everything we've discussed. If you take this discipline too seriously, if you become rigid and heavy with your own self-importance, you can't fly, you can't flow, you become brittle.
And the sources mention that the best best way to get in flow is to stop trying to get in flow.
Right. Straining creates resistance. Think about the glutes again, or any athlete. If you are incredibly tense, stiff, and trying to force a movement, you usually get injured. True athleticism requires a certain relaxation, a lightness. You have to trust the training. You have to trust the fundamentals you've built so you can let go.
So the discipline allows for the lightness. They aren't opposites, they're partners.
Exactly. You do the work. You move the small stones. You sweep the sheds so that you don't have to worry. You can trust the foundation. You can take yourself lightly because you know your foundation is solid.
Right.
You aren't desperately trying to hold everything together. The system is holding it.
That really brings us back to the central thesis of this whole deep dive. We started with the physical, the glutes, the symbol of youth.
Realizing they are the symbol of youth because they allow us to move through the world, not just pose for it.
We talked about Bill Bowerman and the little miracle of rest and recovery.
Trusting the silence and the adaptation rather than just forcing the issue.
We talked about the small stones of Confucius and the sweeping the sheds humility of the All Blacks.
Doing the unglamorous work that builds systemic advantage rather than relying on heroic burnout.
And finally, taking ourselves lightly enough to begin again when we inevitably screw it up.
It really is a goldmine, and I think the most beautiful summary comes from that African proverb in the text. Where there is love, there is no darkness.
What does that mean to you in this context? How does that fit with glutes and strategy?
Well, it means that when you are operating from the fundamentals, when you are serving, when you are grounded, when you are doing the work for the right reasons, you are carrying a light. You aren't stumbling around in the dark looking for a shortcut. You are the path. You are sitting on the gold mine, and you are finally using it. The darkness is the confusion of complexity. The love is the simplicity of service and fundamentals.
That's a powerful thought. So here is the question we want to leave you with today. It's a challenge, really.
If you are sitting on a gold mine of fundamentals, if you have the capacity to move small stones, to listen to silence, to serve the people around you, are you actually mining it? Or are you too busy running around looking for a map to a treasure that doesn't exist?
The treasure is right underneath you. Stop looking for the hero play. Sweep the sheds.
Trust the fundamentals. The glutes will do the rest.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.